So as we get started, one thing I typically do on these each year is I have a little cheat sheet that shows the current release we're working with, which in this year is 2022, and then the 3 most previous releases. So if you are working with 2019 or an older release as you're moving forward, depending on the release you're going to be upgrading to, some of this may be of importance to you. If you're on 2021 and you're just moving to 2022, then you'll only be interested on the right-hand column here. But starting with 2019, the major update there was the whole feature moving away from the dialog box to the new UI panels, or the user interface graphics panels. Those are dockable panels inside the interface that's just kind of going away from the traditional default display browsers that we would see, or display dialog boxes that we would see. 2020 comes along, and we have this new read-only mode of Inventor, which is a little more powerful than Inventor Viewer in the past. So it gives us measuring commands. You can open Inventor assemblies, drawings, parts, and do the measuring. Look around the assembly, zoom in, zoom out without consuming a license of Inventor. We also had the ability to migrate custom settings. So if you were working with 2020 and you just upgraded from 2019, you could import your application options without having to reset everything up. There was multiple monitor docking for browsers and toolbars even. You were still dragging your ribbons off to the other side, and it would support the multiple monitor setup. 2021 comes out, and we've got more UI panels for the Extrude, the Revolve, the Sweep, Thread command, more of the more commonly used commands being moved away from the traditional dialog boxes over to the UI panels. Frame Generator got some updates as it went to the UI panels as well from the traditional dialog boxes. Presets for existing commands were added so that we can save our favorites in those UI panels. Drawing sheet formats added to the default templates. So the dark theme was released in a pre-release mode. So 2020 came out with only a light theme, and some of the users loved it, some of the users did not. They wanted the dark theme back. So 2021, they gave us the pre-release mode of the dark theme, as they still had some bugs to work out with it. 2022, the dark theme is fully supported. I'll show you a little bit of that here shortly. But the reason you're here today, 2022, a couple of big changes in the way the workflows go, and that one is centered around model states. Model states is new for the part and the assembly environment. On the assembly side, it is replacing the legacy level of detail environment. We'll talk a little bit more about that as we get there. There's display extending information extended into the assembly environment now. There's some AnyCAD updates, QIF export for inspections, some 3D annotation updates, some enhanced UI workflows, installation and deployment updates as well as we get started here. So kind of 5 big areas of the 2022 software, model states being the biggest one. This has been wished for years on the wish list and the idea station, and it's taken a few releases to get it correct and get it into the software. It's been part of the beta environment for the past 3 releases. It finally made it to production. It's ready to roll. Revit Interoperability is getting easier to work with the architectural side, sending and receiving files. We've got some nice productivity enhancements, drawing enhancements, and then the installation and deployment has changed as how we know it from the past. It has changed for the better. So where do we get 2022? Well, there's 2 ways to access the software. One via the Autodesk desktop app, which is locally installed if you already have Autodesk products installed. It'll just show up there if it's assigned to you if you're using Autodesk IDs. If you've got a previous release on a network version, once it's available in the Autodesk accounts, it will show up there. You can select the I agree and then select install, and it will do the install there for you in the background. Otherwise, you can go out to the Autodesk accounts website, which is manage.autodesk.com. Log in using your Autodesk ID. The easiest way that I found is just to sort it by version. So in this case, in the screenshot here, I've got the version sorted by 2022, select Inventor Professional, and then select the version you want to download there, and then install now does the browser install. There's also different installation methods or download methods, the browser install as well as the desktop utility installer. So you've got different options there. So the reasons we're here, looking at some of these new features today. Model states, Revit Interoperability, productivity and performance, all of these things packed in one big release. We're going to start with just some of the more major enhancements. that we're going to start looking at here. Dark theme. I know a lot of you AutoCAD users from the day that really like the dark theme. Well, it's back. It's fully supported in all environments. So inside the part modeling environment, the drawing environment, as well as assemblies and presentations, dark mode is back. If you're not sure how to activate that or how to access it, it is located inside of the application options on the colors tab. In the UI panel, kind of in the middle left there, just hit the little pull down, select Dart, hit apply. It takes 10-15 seconds, depending on the graphics card, to apply it throughout the software, and your dark mode is live and running. One little hidden Easter egg I found so far in Inventor 2022 that I thought I would throw in this webcast is a button to reset the UI layout. It is not the Inventor Reset utility. It's not resetting Inventor. It's resetting the UI. Where this will come into play is, say you're working with dual monitors, and in my instance, I have 4 monitors here. Well, I may drag the factory browser over to one monitor. I may have my design accelerators on another monitor, and then I pack up the laptop and I travel to a client site and open the laptop, and the panels are still on different monitors. It's a pain in the butt to get those back to the correct monitor that I'm looking at now. This little button, this little command, this little gem that's hidden here, called Reset UI Layout, now brings us back to the default. So it brings those panels back to my main monitor that I'm looking at. It brings the dialog boxes, the UI panels, anything I put on another monitor and docked it or left it there, it brings it back to the main monitor. Very nice little feature to add here for 2022. We've been needing this one for a long time. So in 2019, I spoke about it a few minutes ago. The whole panel was added, replacing the dialog box from legacy versions of Inventor previous to 2019. Well, then in 2021, the extrusion command, the revolve command, the sweep command, and the thread command were added. And these new user interface panels, these UI panels, these are set up with a top-down approach. So you start at the top and you kind of work your way down through the dialog box. Well, the fillet command has been added with support for 2022. And the fillet command has been broken out into 3 operations. Where in the past, in 2021 and older, the legacy environments, we've got 1 fillet command, and then you could select fillet or edge fillet, face fillet, and full round fillet on the right-hand side of or the left-hand side of the box. Well, because we're going to the UI panel, this has been split out into 3 separate commands. So on the fillet command, you just select fillet on the ribbon menu. It's going to start the edge, but if you hit the little flyout, then you can default to face fillet or full round fillet. And all 3 of these have their own set of selections. So you're not having to toggle between what is available. If you select an edge fillet, you're only going to be allowed to select edges. If you go with the face fillet, you can only select face A, face B. If you select the full round fillet, you can only select side A, center, and side B. So it's limiting the selection there, limiting the choices, getting rid of the clutter. So it's just filtering that out based off the type of fillet that we are adding. So displaying extended information. This has been in the software for a number of years, probably 8 to 10 releases now that this has been available in the part modeling side. And if you're not familiar with it, what it does is it takes your model browser here on the left-hand side. And so where we've got hole 1, circular pattern, and work plane 1 right here, well, if you enable showing extended names, it just gives us some more information. And so now I can see without going to edit the feature that hole 1 is a certain depth, it's a certain diameter. I can see how many instances I have in my pattern, what's the offset of this work plane, and what is it constrained to without having to go to redefine the feature and go edit it. In 2021, that was also added where we could put this in the application options on the part tab. We can enable it, but otherwise it's in the little hamburger menu, the little 3 horizontal bars, display preferences, show extended names. So I included that because that has been enhanced in 2022 as well. And so where the enhancement comes in is now we're extending this to the assembly environment. So same location on the ribbon, or I'm sorry, in the model browser, the little hamburger menu, display preferences, show constrained state. Now what this does is this gives us these little glyph indicators here on screen. The full circle, fully constrained. The empty circle or the hollow circle still has degrees of freedom. So without turning on the degrees of freedom, we can see that that is there. Now, if you're working with a brand new assembly with 2022 from the templates, this automatically is turned on. If you're working with legacy assemblies, when you open them up, this is not there by default. where you turn this on a file by file basis is on the units or in the document settings on the modeling tab, and then show constraint state in browser unless you use the little shortcut right here. And that will get you there. So with that said, we're going to flip over here and take a look at this one. And so this is one of my older models. And here in the model browser, I can see that these two components, they're fully constrained. And this one here is not. And so it's showing me, if I come down here to this one, this is my grounded component, it's fully constrained, obviously, but this heat ring is not. So if I go open this one up in the part file, I can see it's just a simple part file. So it's probably, there's a reason, it's a round file, it can rotate around whatever it's constrained to. But as we constrain these, this is where this will start happening. So I'll just make this one, actually I'm not going to change it at all. We're going to go over here and look. If we go to the display preferences, we can show constrained state. Now, another new feature that's added right here is we can hide everything that's fully constrained. So from the same menu right here, so I can hide everything in the browser that's fully constrained. So now I'm only looking at what's not fully constrained. And so now I can go through and I can start, okay, well, this one here, I've got to work with this. Maybe it's some of the ones in the patterns here. So I can look at, yep, there's one of my content center components. I can ignore that one. But it's just a nice little toggle there to allow us to see what we're looking at there. And so then we can come back in here and we can turn this off and it replays everything, replaces it for us here. But if we're not looking to use the shortcut menu here on the little hamburger menu, the bar, display preferences, we can go into the document settings here on the modeling tab and turn on the show constrained state in browser right here. All right, so Revit Interoperability. So this has been requested for many releases now, and it's getting better. It's finally at a state where we can work between the two softwares and work natively with simplified models. So we've got it where we can import and we can export now. And so we can take our Inventor file and we can export directly to an RVT or a Revit file. And we can simplify the geometry as to what we're sending over to the Revit environment so that when the architectural users bring it in, they can place the plan view, side views, cut their views, whatever they want to do with it, but without getting all the nuts and bolts, without getting all the chamfers and fillets that they don't need. On the Inventor side, we take a model that's got 800 edges, and that's great. That's what we want. We're designing to fit. On the architectural side, if they're just wanting to place it in, all they need is a bounding box. So we can simplify it, we can give it a dumbed down shape, and we can go from there. All the intelligence is still there. We can control what properties go with it. We can hide the property, keep the property, whatever we want to do with it there, we still control it. But inside of Inventor, we do have the ability to now export directly to an RVT under the Save As dialog. We also have this QIF support for our 3D annotations. As we are exporting this out for PMI data, you can even use the Inventor Task Scheduler to take your parts or assemblies and export those out to a JT format. And as long as you've got 3D annotations on the screen, that information is carried over as well. So nice little enhancement there that has been requested highly in a few previous releases. It is there. So every year when the newest version of the software comes out, the translators are updated. And so that's what can we import, what can we place and keep a live reference to. And so this year is no exception to that rule. As the SolidWorks files, we can import Solid Edge up to 2021, as well as placing using the AnyCAD references there. So installing Inventor 2022. Well, if we're going to create a deployment, you're going to create it using the Autodesk Accounts page. Deployment creation with the 2022 products are no longer available inside the desktop installers. These are all done inside the Autodesk Accounts page. So your CAD manager, your contract manager, whoever's got access to the accounts page can log into the manage.autodesk.com website. They will see an area that says custom install. And so you select that, hey, we're going to create a deployment here. What type of license are we going to use, whether it's Autodesk ID, whether it is serial number or network license, and then the products that we're going to create a deployment for, and then what version, in this case 2022. Customizations, this is the content center libraries. This is, are we installing all of the libraries or just a select few? Are we doing a desktop icon? so forth. The extensions, are we doing Revit Interoperability? Are we doing AutoCAD Electrical Browser? Where are we putting the templates and styles and materials? By default, it's going to put those in the default location, and then we select next. And then we got to give the deployment a name. So our custom deployment, in this case, I'm going to name it Inventor 2022. What is the local installation path on the machine that'll be running this? Here's the defaults. Agree to the terms, create installer. I can create my deployment, share this with Keith via the server, and he can install it and keep rolling right on. Now, as far as the desktop installer goes, this is the fastest installer that I've seen to date. And I've been working with Inventor for 20 years now, and the installers just keep getting better and better. So when you launch the Inventor 2022 installer, this is the first window you would see. Where are we putting the product? Where are we putting the content libraries? There are no other options. There's no expanding it. There's no worrying about anything else. You hit next. The additional components, are we installing the content libraries, TrueView 2022, Revit Interoperability, Electrical Catalog Browser? Those are your 4 choices. You can check or uncheck each of those that you need. You click install. You get a little progress bar for each one of these. I've installed 2022 in 2 environments now. The first one took just under 10 minutes. The second one took just under 11 minutes. That's installing every one of the content libraries included. Super fast, very easy to install, very easy to get up and running with the 2022 product. Part enhancements. The biggest part of the part enhancements in this release we're going to take a look at is model states. So what are model states? Well, the model states, this is a powerful new workflow enabling you to create multiple representations inside of a part or assembly, maintain those in a single document, easy way to engineer, manage, manufacture, all of those good things, but everything is inside of one file. So you don't have to worry about breaking links between files. And with 2022, and along with these model states, we have instance properties. So if it's a part and we're creating 5 different instances of this component, if it's an assembly and we've got 8 different instances of this component, we can control the instance properties via the iProperties editing dialog box. So if we've got example 23-1, example 23-2, example 23-3, I can go into each one of those instances and edit those instances of those components. And so it's replacing the level of detail from the olden days in the assemblies, but it's a great way to have multiple representations inside one file without having to use iParts and iAssemblies for those table-driven files. So these can be used for machining operations, from casting models all the way to the final part, sheet metal stages for multiple bend operations, weldments, preparing those for machining operations, any product families that have different values for dimensions that are shown or suppressed, level of completion of each stage as your design goes through assembly process, simplification levels for removing IP or high levels of detail before exporting, as well as the iProperty instance information. So we'll take a short little video here looking at one of these, a couple of different examples here as the model states comes up. But this has kind of been the big push for Inventor 2022. And this is from the assembly and from the part level. And then once you've got it at the part level, you can still control it from the assembly side without going back to the part to edit it. So in this case here, we've got a 3D annotation here on the screen showing the part number, the stock number, and the number of blades. So we're just going to create a new model state here. We can go into the iProperties here and adjust the part number, the stock number, adjust the description, what we're working with here, and everything is updated. Here are the parameters, going in, setting this up, modifying it very easily, linking everything. Now, you can also edit these from Excel. So if you're making separate instances of the model states where they're incrementing by 1, it's very easy to go into Excel and do that and let Excel do the work for you and increment that by part numbers and everything else that it's doing with the equations, pulling from our parameters. This is fully supported in iLogic. It's fully supported for the Inventor CAM. We're going to machine this down so we can go in and write the tool pathing with it for each one of these instances or for only certain instances. All of this is supported, and as well as simulation. So in this case here, we've got this component. It's got 3 punches in it. It's got mounting holes on one end. Maybe if we want to run analysis, we don't care about that other stuff. So we can remove those extra nodes and meshes that would be placed on the file just to run the analysis as it is here on our component. And so we remove these, we can run the analysis real quick on it without having to have the extra edges and faces in there just to see if it's going to break or fail. If we're going to simplify this, we're going to share it with someone just to see if it'll fit with what we're working with. We can define envelopes, we can change the shape, we want to hide some IP. In this case here, we're going to start a bounding box, and we're just going to resize it to be from the bottom to the top of our shape here. And then if we don't want to show what our mounting surface looks like, we can create a cylinder here. This is fully supported in iLogic as well. So if we are running iLogic rules or have an iLogic form set up, we can create it, tie into the model states, and work with it from there. So this instance here, this is in an assembly. We're pulling from one instance of a sheet metal component there where the angle that's being rolled around can be a 45, can be a 90. Everything is controlled there in one file, and we're just working through it as we go. Now, because we've looked at it on the part side, it's also got some love on the assembly side. Now, this does replace the level of details. So if you create a new assembly inside Inventor 2022 using the 2022 templates, there is no level of detail. It is no longer there. It's not available. There is a folder at the top of the model browser called Model States. This is just an alternative to iParts and iAssemblies. It's not replacing that functionality. It's just another way of working with it. But I will tell you, Model States work a lot better with Vault than iParts and iAssemblies. If you have a legacy file that has iParts and iAssemblies, or iPart and iAssembly tables, until those tables are removed, the model states will not show up. So it recognizes that the iPart and iAssembly table exist, and so the model states will not be there until that is removed. So keep that in mind. If you're opening an old assembly and you're like, where are my model states? Well, if there's an iPart table included in one of the files or an iAssembly table, they will not, the model states will not show up until those are removed. Now, again, these can be edited via Excel. You can use it to suppress files, hide files. It works great with Vault because everything is stored in one file. It's not stored outside in a table in another folder. It's all stored in a single source file, making it a lot easier to work with. Vault, if you are using Vault Professional and working with items, model states are extremely easy to work with because now you can pull each of those instances in as items as well. The drawing enhancements. We got some updates here on the drawing side. And including this is dimensioning displays on center lines. New drawing creation got easier last year with the 2021 environment where we could just go in and we've got the new drawing formats. So you've got sheets set up that are placing 5 views, 6 views, 3 views on your template. You can set that up, create your own. Lighting styles are now updated to support the lighting environment and the modeling environment to be displayed in the shading environment as well. So if we have a drawing, let's come over here. Here is one of my drawings, and we come over here and we put a dimension. We don't need a whole note. We'll throw a dimension on there, and say I grab a dimension right here, and there's my center line right behind it. If I place a dimension on top of this center line, the center line breaks around the text. It has never done that before. It's been a pet peeve of a lot of users going, hey, why does this not break? It now does. If this text moves, it breaks right there. I put it right here, it breaks right there. Move right there. So wherever I put this, it breaks. If I move it out to the end, it'll restore the line as it was. If I drag it back over here to realign it, reassociate it, wherever I want to put it, it's going to go right there. It works on existing center lines. It works on new center lines as well. So if I add me a new center line right here and go back and throw another dimension on this guy, we'll just drop it right here in the middle. The center line breaks around the text, makes it a lot easier to work with. Now, I don't know why I would ever do this, but let's remove this here. And let's say this whole note accidentally got placed right here. It also gets cropped around so that the dimension or the whole note in this case is live and easily available, and the line breaks around it. So even if we did have an overlap, or if we're tight in a view and needing graphical space to place a note there, if it's placed on that center line, it will be broken around the text there if it is a true dimension or whole note. So in this case here, I've got my shaded view. This is the how I'm looking at it from the model. So if I come back over here and let's go open this. And I don't have this one linked in where it's associative, but if I change the lighting environment, I go from the default to the photo booth, make it darker, or if I want to go down to 2 lights to make it lighter, come back to the drawing. These updates represent the 2 lights. So I don't have it associative. I've just got it pulling the lighting style right now, but this works great. If you've got a larger model that we're working with here, and in this case here, I'll create a new drawing and use those new sheet formats. And so in this case here, this was added in 2021, been enhanced with 2022, in that when you select a template, if it's got preset views made up with it, so in this case here, I got a C size with 5 views, I've got a C size with 2 views. So I can go in here and say, you know what, I want to create using this one right here. It's going to go over, start the drawing environment for me very quickly. It's going to place these 5 views on my drawing, and it'll update those real quick. Edit this guy, turn on the shading, and zoom in here, and there's my blues, there's my grays. So I can go in, I can change the lighting, everything updates here. If I come back over here to the model real quick, when it finishes updating, I see it's still updating there. When it finishes updating here, we'll go back to the model, and there we go. So I've got this one that's using the default, where I've got a state set in here now that I'm using the blue one. The drawing is using the red one, so it's showing what I'm calling for it here. Inside the dialog box, under your model states, everything is listed here. If there's any iParts, iAssemblies, they're still listed here. If you don't want to show tangent edges, you can turn that off. Everything is still located here, but the lighting environment is still set to show the shaded views or not. Everything is now pulling from the drawing itself, going in and reading those in accurately. Back over here. So this one we just looked at, where we place drawings. The dimension automatically updates our drawing sheet formats for new drawing creation is updated to show those drawing views. Here's one of the videos here showing a simple part file that doesn't have as many faces and shades going in there. But as we update the lighting styles, everything updates there. You can change your beige looking background color to be white. So it's not always that color, especially if you're working with screenshots for marketing or something. So again, how do we access this? Well, it is available in 2 places there. And if we are using the desktop app, it will show up here for you. You would, in my case, it's already installed, or you would select the I accept, just like the factory right here, and hit install. It automatically starts showing up here for you. Once there are updates available, those are going to be listed right here. So I see what just hit right now. I've got a Vault 2021.2 and a AutoCAD 2021.1.1 update that just came out, one yesterday and one today. So this is live. It keeps up to date with what's there. Here are your products. The other route is if you go to the manage.autodesk.com website, and we go into products and services. You know, I've got it filtered here to 2022. Come over here and filter, and then it goes out and it displays. Oh, it's gonna make me log back in. We'll come back to where we just were, products and services, and now we'll filter it to 2022 there. And then I can scroll down. I select Inventor, and I select my view downloads. I can download it from right here. I can hit install from right here. And if I don't like the install now, I can download it now through the download manager. I can download it through the browser. Notice it's going to download the 12.4 gigs if I'm doing locally. There are 3 installation files for Inventor 2022. So if you do start downloading those, you will need all 3 of those files to be able to install it. If we were going to create a deployment, this is where we would go do that. We would go to the custom install. It's going to list up the products that are available based off my license type. So I'm going to go with Autodesk ID, because that's how Keith and I access our softwares now. And I'll say, you know what, let's do the Inventor Pro, and 2022 is what's available. If I go look at the custom, do I want to install read-only as well? Yes, I do. What about the shared views? Yes or no? Enable in-product feedback. I don't care about that. I can take that off. Don't want to allow users to migrate this from a previous version. This is what pops up the first time we launch Inventor after the install is, do you want to migrate this? I highly recommend leaving that one set. And so then here are the create a desktop shortcut. Yes. Are we going to use desktop content center libraries? Which ones are we going to use? If we want to look at the extensions, this is, are we installing TrueView, Revit Interoperability? Do we want to install the content libraries, yes or no? Electrical, catalog browser. So we go through all of those. We figure out which ones we want to keep, yes or no, and then next, and then we give it a name. Hagerman Inventor 2022, where we're going to install it. I agree, create installer. It creates it for me, and then we can roll from there. So it's very easy to access. If you don't have access to 2022, ask your CAD manager or contract manager to assign it to you so it will start showing up, and then it will either show up in the desktop app or to be available when you log in through your Autodesk account there. All right, so let's come back over to the software here, and let's go look at a couple of these components. So here is an assembly that we've got here. And the default model state for this one is showing in, we've got two of these units right here that are set up. So I can come in here to, there's my default 2, there's my 3, there's my 4. So if I come look at the instance here, so I can right click on the instance and say iProperties, and then I'm looking at the instance right here. Okay, so in this case here, I've saved this one as Hagerman 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to name this one instance 4. So when I come make unit 3 active, you can double click or right click, say activate, and I go look at these iProperties. This one is 1, 2, 3, 5, 3, right? So if I want to update all of these at one time, I've got this little toggle right here that allows me to toggle everything, and now I'm editing all of these. So I come in here and say, you know what? Let's go in and edit this, and let's give it a engineer of Hagerman. And so we'll come into this one, and now we'll turn that toggle off, and we'll go over here to unit 0, go to the instance properties, look at project, and there's Hagerman as the engineer. So I can update all of them at once with the properties, or I can update them independently. And so it's just a matter of turning this on or turning this off. Now, if I want to create a new model state, you can right click and copy one of these. You can copy the master, or you can right click on the top level folder here and say new. Now, one thing I want to do is I want to go edit this via Excel. So right click on the model states folder, edit via Excel, select OK there. It'll go out and launch the version of Excel that you have locally installed. This does require a desktop installation. It will not work with Excel in the cloud. It does require the local installation. But here are my 4 units here plus my master. So I can come in and, you know, if I want to take all of this over here, and just drag this down. And this is one of the nice things about Excel is, if you notice here at the end, it went with instance 5, instance 6. So I can come in, I can replace this, I can, you know, retype this one. This is now unit 5. This is unit 6. And so I can just close Excel, hit save, and very quickly it'll go out and it'll update with unit 5 and unit 6. So it works at the assembly level. It works at the part level. So if we go out and we'll say open this guy here, this fan blade that we've got going right here, currently we are looking at, this is reading the blade numbers. So we'll go over here and look at the parameters, and it is calling for 20. Okay, so we've got part numbers that are assigned, and these are available via a multi-parameter list right here. And so this has an iLogic rule that's driving what each one of these would be. And so all of this is tied back to our parameters as we're going here. I can right click on this one and say, let's edit this one via Excel. And we'll go out and open this one very quickly. And we'll add 3 or 4 more rows here. Notice this one is Autodesk 011841 through 845. Okay, so they've named this one here. So we'll just grab all of this. And we'll say, let's just grab add 4 more here. So we'll just hit save or close it and hit save. And then these will show up right here. Then I could go into my iLogic editor and add the other ones that I needed. But we won't do that. I won't make you bore through that one today. But we'll go over here to our forms and we'll bring this up, and it went to the other monitor. So let me drag it over here. And so then on this one, I've got my 4, my 5. And so I can see that this one, when it's 82, which one it's working with, it's got 16. When it's 0, it's got 20. When it's the 41, it's got 18. If I go to 45, it's got 10. And so each one of these are updating. It's just going into the rule now and adding it for the other 4 rows that I've added. So, you know, I'm working with case 45. I could copy and paste this, make it 46. Then the model state is this, 47, it's this, and everything is tied back to all of those parameters and rules. So it works great. Model states are easy to work with. You can just toggle between them. It's a lot easier, more user-friendly than iParts and iAssemblies, especially when it comes to the Vault side. So with that, we will turn it over to questions and see what kind of questions you guys have. All right, looks like we've had a few questions here. Looks like Keith has been able to answer them all. Here's one: will the slides be supplied along with the recording? Keith answered that. Yes, they are part of the presentation. If that is something that you guys would like, you can reply back to the recording email that you'll get from our marketing department tomorrow or later today, and then we will. I'll be glad to save this as a PDF and share this with you guys. Previous versions, you could open a drawing from the assembly model. That is still there as long as the assembly and drawing have the same name. Now, yes, they can have different extensions, but they have to have the same name. So if your assembly is named Part 123, your drawing has to be named Part 123, or it will not open. It'll ask you to browse for it. Here's a new question that just came in. Is Inventor 2022 compatible with 2021 Vault Pro? That is a negative. Vault always has to be the same release or newer than the CAD product. And so Vault 2021 could only work with CAD 2021, CAD 2020, and CAD 2019. James has a great question there. How much larger is the file size when using model state versus iParts? It's extremely smaller. Everything is controlled locally in the one file versus externally in different folders. But even though it's keeping it one file, the testings that we've done and that I saw happen in the beta process, the model states files are extremely smaller than the iParts and iAssembly files. So the best way to update iParts and iAssemblies to model states, well, you have to remove the iPart tables and the iAssembly tables. So make sure you've captured all that information, have a screenshot, or have it saved in Excel somewhere that you can pull it back in. But you do have to delete the table from the model itself to be able to work with model states. With 2022, are we able to import a Revit file into Inventor? Yes, that has been there starting with 2021, I believe, but we could report directly into a 2020 or into an RVT file via the AnyCAD environment. We could place those in. Let's see, here's some other questions coming in. Show constraint state, is that a document setting only? For legacy files, anything created pre-Inventor 2022, yes, that would be the case. Any new file started with 2022 templates, then those will have the show constraint state turned on by default. Those are saved locally in the document, unless somebody opens the template and disables that and saves the document. So where is the install deployment stored and accessed? When you start the creation process, it'll ask you where you're going to put it. So you can put it on the server, you can put it on your C drive, and then copy it out to the server. So that is where, good question there, Pete. That is where that would be. You get to tell it where you're going to store it, where you're going to save it. And then, if you do move it from one location to another, then, make sure you change the configuration file to point to that new location so it's not trying to go back to the old location. Can drawing tables that are associated with iParts be associated or recreated to be associated to model states? Unfortunately not. Once those iPart tables and iAssembly tables are removed from the legacy assembly, that drawing would be updated to have that removed as well. So you could still create a new table from your model states, but you would have to create a new one. So Julian asked, how easily does Inventor 2022 work with 2020 dependable programs? Would probably need a little more information on that one to know which programs we're talking about. Hugo just asked, we still have one station that is Windows 7. Will Inventor 2022 run on it? From what I am told, no, it will not install. It is doing a great job checking the system requirements during installation. I have two virtual machines, one running Server 2012, one running Server 2016 that I always use for testing, and Inventor 2022 will not install on those. When I get to the process, it says, nope, does not meet the system requirements, and it just closes out. So I don't have one that has Windows 7, but from everything I've seen, that is a negative. It will not install on Windows 7. Rich asked, any Nest utility upgrades with 2022? The Inventor Nest utility will be upgraded. I believe it is set to come out in May, so it's a couple of weeks out before the Nest utility will be available. But yes, there will be an Inventor nesting utility for Inventor 2022. So we got some more good questions coming in here. All right, Keith is answering a bunch of those. Thank you, sir. See several of you guys saying you will be upgrading to the new version soon. That is great. If you guys run into any issues during that, please reach out to service@hagerman.com, and we'd be happy to assist you with any errors you run into there. So great question from Pete. What happens to Excel tables when used with model states when moved and accessed from Vault? Everything is stored locally in that one document, so it's not officially an Excel document that's being saved out anywhere. It's being accessed from inside of Inventor, so it's all still in one file, which makes it a lot easier to work with than iParts and iAssemblies, because for years those have not played well with Vault. Got a couple more coming in here. Another one about deployments. Yep, unfortunately, those are no longer available via the desktop installer. Those are only available via the Autodesk accounts page. So one thing here, let me go back to my packing machine here, since this one has a couple of questions in here. On the export side, let's see here. We can still export a 3D model over to AutoCAD via DWG file. We can export it directly to a DWF as well as the 3D PDF. So yes, assembly support is there for 3D PDF. It has been for a number of releases now. You can send this directly to a 3D PDF file, and anyone that has Adobe or any PDF viewer can receive that in a PDF and rotate it around and look at the file. Good question. That one gets asked a good bit. All right, Miss Ashley, I don't see any more coming in.
Okay. Well, thank you for the presentation, and thank you all for attending today. If you think of questions later, you can simply reply to that confirmation or reminder email you received from GoToWebinar, and we can get those questions answered, get the questions sent to the right person and get those questions answered. And once again, if you would like those slides, you can reply to that as well, and we can get those to you. You will receive an email tomorrow with a link for the recording of today's presentation. And is there anything further, Mark?
No, ma'am, that's it.
All right, well, have a great day, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.